This is Chris Kell with your Peak Fitness lower body standing corrective exercises. All right, now with this we're looking at three distinct patterns that we want to look at some corrections for. First being the single leg stance. Right, single leg stance. When we're looking at this, we're thinking about running stride, step up, that sort of thing. And this is primarily involving the lower body. Right, so the first thing that we want to do is look to stretch the tight muscles. Generally, the first thing that we're going to look at is psoas. Okay, with the psoas, we have two options here. One is called just a runner stride stretch, where I put my foot up on a table here. I'm leaning forward, so I'm getting a good stretch here in my down leg, and I'm twisting in. All right, there's also what we call a long stance hip flexor stretch. With this, I'm going to think about getting very, very long in my stance here, really being straight up, twisting my body in. I'll turn a little bit more towards this way so you can see me. And again, we're just holding in these drills for about 1 to 2 minutes, tightening the butt cheek of my back leg. All right, now from here, our next drill is going to be a figure 4 or a pigeon pose. Okay, this can either be done in a seated position where I sit down, cross one leg in front and press down in this manner. I'm going to feel a stretch here in the hip, or up against the wall as a figure 4 stretch. Okay, the figure 4 stretch is going to look like this. So I cross one leg over the other, press down. I can kind of come forward my toes to get some more pressure here. And again, I'm just holding for 1 to 2 minutes. All right, for our last stretch, we are going to look at what we call the couch pose. Okay, with the couch pose, this is a little bit different simply because we're kind of biasing more of the front of the leg. Okay, with this, what I'm going to do, place my back foot on a step, hold it in this position and feel a pronounced stretch here in the back leg. And again, I'm just holding here for a period of 1 to 2 minutes. All right, now for our corrective exercise, for our mobility drills, we're going to look at several things that we want to mobilize in this position. All right, so first thing we've got is what is called a cross leg ankle rock. We want to start by doing some stuff for the ankles. Cross leg ankle rock would be one option. I'm just pressing my back heel into the floor and I'm coming back, feeling a pronounced stretch in the calves. And again, this is something that we want to start at the bottom and kind of work up. All right, another option would be a wall ankle mob, where I come up against the wall here. I'm leaning forward until I feel a good stretch in my ankle. Thinking about sitting back on the heel. It's going to be a little bit harder to coach, but again, it is an option. And then we have things like single leg reaches, where I'm standing on one leg. I can use the wall for support if necessary, and I'm just sitting back on my heel. We want to try to get some mobilization, what we call dorsiflexion, the ability to sit back on the heels, and we can just have the client kind of hold this prolonged position, hold for 2 to 3 seconds, come back, and that would be performed as a mobility drill after our stretches. All right, so the next exercise that we're going to utilize here, okay, would be, let's see, a mobilization for the hip flexors. All right, so once again, we've held in a sort of a stretch position. Now we're going to move them actively through the range of motion. First exercise would be a Spider-Man. So I'm going to come into this position. One leg comes way out to the side. I'm just bringing my elbow down to the ground and I'm coming back up. Pausing for 1 to 2 seconds. I can kind of get into this deep position here and just rock around. And again, really work on that area. Right. Another option would be just a what we call a warrior lunge or warrior stretch. Okay, and with this, we have several options. I can simply get into a long lunge stance, just come down and up actively. Okay, or I can move into a reverse lunge as well. Okay, which is a reverse lunge with several motions here. Just a straight reverse lunge where I come back, I'm feeling a stretch here in my back leg. I can kind of reverse lunge, move to the side a little bit to get my back leg here. But again, I'm feeling a pronounced stretch in my hip. I'm holding for 1 to 2 seconds, tightening the butt cheek of my back leg. That's what I'm looking for there. Okay. Now our last, and really that's what we're looking for with our mobility drills. Finally, for our stability movements, we want to look at the lateral core. All right, these are the muscles that stabilize our muscles from side to side here, frontal plane motions, and that's what kind of single leg stance is telling us. If the knee is coming in, we want to teach the body to resist that. So with that said, the first thing that we're going to do is a side plank progression. All right, with the side plank progression, I'm just going to start with my knees bent, raise up into a side plank, and hold. Should be able to hold here for 30 seconds while keeping everything straight. The next progression would be to straighten my legs out, come into this position, hold, and come down. From here I can do things like adding movement of the extremities. So I can do things like a leg lift, straighten my leg out, certainly arm raises as well. Really the key is that I'm able to stay straight. I'm staying straight here. Now from here, the other two exercises that we want to incorporate are what we call hip abduction. Okay, so starting with a clam exercise, working a little side muscle of the hip here, moving into a wall leg lift. Okay, and then into things like a standing band walk. And some glute strengthening and activation. So for my first exercise here, I'm going to hold in a bird dog position. Okay, I can progress that to a glute bridge, to a single leg glute bridge where I just hold in this position. And then I can start to incorporate things like single leg deadlifting movements into the workout where the client's standing on one leg and coming up and down. Once again, those movements can be placed as activation at the beginning of the workout, as filler sets, and then eventually strength training exercises. So those are a couple ideas for strengthening or corrective solutions for this particular problem, and that's your video.